I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm Mike Hudson with my partner, as always, Greg Train. If you guys have been following this in podcasts, you'll know we try to meet people where they are. Today, we've got a unique opportunity where our good friend Ben Huntzinger with Spartan Wheel Chariots joining us from Georgia. Ben, how are you doing today, buddy?
Doing real good. Doing real good. It's so good to see you guys this time of day. It's a joy because I'm stuck here with 11-year-olds for work. So anybody else from my normal life is just help.
I love it. Love it. Ben, if you don't mind, man, I've had the pleasure of meeting up with you and talking, and I know my partner, old Greg Trainer, has talked to you a little bit, and you guys have never really been able to just spit words back and forth. But the wheelchair community is a tight knit community, so we all text or Skype or chat or social media. But if you will, tell the folks one how you ended up in a chair, and then two, a little bit about the amazing company that you're running.
Sure
Oh, did
will.
we go?
And I've been counting to five to let it catch up. Um, so first off, Greg, I love seeing your post, and I feel like I'm your brother, and we haven't really had a conversation yet either. So it's good to sit down with you finally. And like Mike said, I got to meet Mike in person. I guess 3 weeks ago now, and um, tight knit is a good word for it. We're all, I don't know, we all kind of stumbled into this together, and it's just been such a joy to meet other people that are in this same scenario of life, and that it's just such a blessing. I tell people that all the time that I wouldn't change anything because of the people I've met and the life that's developed since my injury. So it's just awesome. But I got paralyzed 13 years ago, and I was driving down a back road coming off St. George Island and was going too fast, and the truck flipped out. The back end of the truck went off the road, and the truck ended up flipping. It was a single car accident, and I was a I woke up a T4 paraplegic. I was 22 years old. I was just working at a grocery store, stocking shelves. Had plans of getting in school, and kind of post college years where I was, young and dumb. I was on the end of all that, and then this happened. And I, from an early age, enjoyed physical, like running and staying in shape. Just made me feel better about myself. And once I got paralyzed, jumping into the whole story about how this all happened with Spartan Wheel Chariots, um, I thought, man, this normal wheelchair just isn't cutting it. And I lived near. Fast forward to getting out of the rehab hospital at Shepherd. I lived near the Chattahoochee River, and I would go to the river with my black lab and kind of just stay on the paved surfaces, but there's tons of mountain bike trails. And it didn't take me long to really venture out into the mountain bike trails, and it was, a good, really good workout. But I always thought if I could just make my wheelchair have some kind of suspension system, this would be a whole different ball game because there was a few times early on when I'd go over a big route and being real top heavy in a wheelchair, it wouldn't take much to tip you over.
Hmm.
I can specifically remember one of the first times I went on a trail. I was coming off of it, and my front caster hit a root when I wheelied down a hill. And when the front of the wheelchair sat down, I hit a root. It ejected me. It was raining, and I remember this guy coming up the trail with a German short-haired pointer. He helped me back up into the chair, and I kind of limped back to the truck with my pride kind of like, you know, that wouldn't happen if my wheelchair was just the least bit more capable. And it was from that day forward I started this journey. And the first thing I did is I went to my physical therapist and seating therapist, occupational therapist, with this idea of creating a different kind of wheelchair. Or let me back up. I told them what had happened and how if I had a different wheelchair, what it would do for my life. And
Mm.
they said, "Well, here's some off-road tires. That's basically it. There's not a wheelchair out there like you're talking about." And the ones that they did show me was, $10,000, $4 or $5,000. And I just got my wheelchair, so they said there's no way you're getting funding for it.
Right.
Basically, insurance companies will just give you what you need, and that's it. So, um, when I learned that there wasn't anything out there, I started taking apart my wheelchair and I took an off road skateboard axle, put it under my foot plate, and that let it articulate front tires. Um, and that was the first prototype I ever built. And it immediately let me go out into the river with my dog. Um, DNR releases trout on that portion of the Chattahoochee. So, fishing was kind of back on, running with my dog on gravel surfaces because it was pneumatic tires on that skateboard axle.
Mm.
Um, Now, I was living in the city at this point, and I used to push up to the spinal center to work out. And the sidewalks in Atlanta they're all old, and there was cracks and roots, and
Mm.
um, I needed something for that too. And I found out real quick that the wheelchair prototype I had made with that skateboard axle worked phenomenal on broken sidewalks.
Mm.
Um, so at that point, I took all this, idea to different engineers and college students, and didn't have any success with them seeing this vision of creating a wheelchair that's just for the outdoors, that's affordable, like a mountain bike. And I chased leads down and got as many people as I could to help as much as I could over the next few years after that. I even went down to the Capitol one day and said, I want to talk to the governor, and told him about this idea. I tried to tell him about this idea because
Right.
I figured, heck, if we're in it, the best spinal cord places right here in Atlanta, they ought to be making the wheelchairs here.
Right.
But, that didn't work out. I didn't get to see him. And fast forward 5 years, I was in South Georgia, and I'd finally gotten to where I'd bought myself a cheap welder and was making my own wheelchairs from the ground up on the back of my truck. Coil springs, front tires were dolly tires, and I gotten to the point where, again, I was like, I really need to get through school. So I went to a technical college, enrolled for welding,
Mm.
and had learned the basics of welding off YouTube. Was living off Social Security. Um, was going to a WMA every day with my dog, and that was, I would go work out real hard in the mornings with that wheelchair out there in the sand, see some wildlife. It's a lottery hunt at this WMA I'm talking about, so you couldn't just go during public season.
Mm.
Most of the time, it was just walking trails, and that was what I was doing with my life. Wasn't much, but then I went to that technical school and was ready to do something, get a job, and I went into their marketing department and I told these girls, "Hey, I've got a wheelchair design and I'm here doing welding. This is where it all starts right here. Had God not pushed me that day, then none of this would have happened in the way it did." And I always think about this. I went into that marketing department and I told those girls, "Look, I'm here with a wheelchair that could change everything. And if there's any way y'all can help me, I will gladly give this college everything that this becomes. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it to help people."
Right.
And a part of me too is wanting to stick it back to those people that said this is not something feasible. I had that drove me really too, because I saw a lot of people not helping um, others in wheelchairs because they didn't want to hear what I had to say. So,
Right.
anyways, 2 months later, after I went in there and was in school for welding, they got an email from the state of Georgia, and it said, "Hey, do you have anybody there that has some kind of a invention that's ready to take to market that you can enter into this competition?" And they were like, "Hey, remember that guy in a wheelchair that came in here?" So we went to Atlanta. I competed. I brought back $25,000. I was on live TV, um, and the whole experience was just a whole nother story in itself. But here I was 7 years, 8 years later, after being paralyzed, after pushing around for the first few years with this dream in my head, to it finally has happened. And there's a lot of dark days, a lot of learning experience, a lot of great days in between then and when it happened. And I can remember a lot of them clear as day, of God talking to me through that experience or through
Right.
that person, hearing
Right.
that like you can do it inside.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
You know, that's the
yeah,
thing, Ben. You hit the nail on the head just a minute ago. It's about giving back. It's about being humble. I'm blessed that I get to work with Greg. I get to work with you, and you see the guys and girls that truly have a heart for people, and it's not parts. We're people, and you guys want to give back, but you do it with humility. You feel that calling, and we use our injuries because one, we didn't ask for them, but two, they've put our lives on a completely different path than we would have chosen for ourselves. And they're phenomenal paths.
And Ben, I just want to chime in here. I've been quiet just listening to your story. First of all, man, you and I are brothers. I've been following you for years, and I'm just amazed at what you accomplish and how many people's lives you improve. And you're definitely not in this for the money. You're in it for the right reasons. And I'm just so proud to know you. And even though we're not close by, uh, we follow each other on Facebook and communicate that way. And I'm just so proud to know you as a human being for everything you're doing. I want to tell you that first, man. You inspire so many people. Thank you for coming on our podcast today and sharing your experience with us.
absolutely, man. I'm just right there with you, brother. I see all the stuff you do. Just I'm like, man, old Greg Trainer, there he is again. I look forward. I hope one day we get to cross paths in person, man. I'm sure we will eventually, because how God has just all this good stuff in store for us. You're in a whole nother neck of the woods.
I'm
Every
going to
time
get
I see
down.
you,
I'm going to get down south though to see Mike, and then I want to get together with you and a couple other people. I've been kind of laid up with a pressure sore this last year. That's just been really hard on me. It affected me. My mental ability, my daily life. It's been a struggle. But Mike and I are getting back on the horse and trying to reach out and touch some more people.
heck yeah, bud. Those things are nothing to play around with. That's for
No,
sure.
man, jump on you pretty quick. But Ben, man, we've been tinkering with this idea of the Marine Corps Merit Chair. Jumped right to help design one. Greg doesn't know it yet, but me and Ben were talking about possibly producing some chairs we can use for our wheelchair softball teams. But Ben, how many chairs do you think you've produced since you've been doing this, man?
Well, right now, on like everybody that orders a chair, it goes through my PayPal, and every invoice I have, I think I'm up to 320 something on the invoices.
Oh
But
wow.
that's if, like, when I built your chair, I didn't go through PayPal. So if I were to say how many I've built total, it's probably close to 400 chairs easily, and that's in 4 years. Just like
Which
Greg was saying. Yeah, it's incredible.
Which type format are you seeing more? The outdoor chair, more of the beach type chair? Which been the chair you've been putting out the most?
Hands down, that the original one that has the dolly tires on the front, which is capable on the beach too. Um, but since I've started making, this is another way God worked in this whole situation. The guys that are in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach Adaptive Surf Project, he was the first one that said, "Is there any way you can put more of a well?" Here's what happened: is he wanted that chair and it was just for the beach, and
Yeah.
I told him that if unless he's rinsing those front bearings out after somebody brings it back up to the pier, those things are going to lock up. And I thought, well, let me look at the beach balloon tires, and it all worked out to where I can put a balloon tire on the front of it instead of that open bearing dolly tire, and I can put marine grease in it, and then it's a plastic hub on a metal tube. It's guaranteed never to lock up. So when that happened, and I figured out a way to do it where somebody could run it in the salt water all day, not wash it, and never have an issue.
Mm.
From that point forward, had a solution to just a beach chair. I've I've had probably 15 or 20 of those things go out, so it's still nothing compared to the everyday off-road wheelchair that I've built. And then actually this past week, um, I've always produced the chariots, whether it be the beach chair or the normal one with a mountain bike tire on the back. But and that's where somebody could push themselves if they wanted to.
Mm.
But Luke Sharp, the guy that's running Adaptive Surf Project, he said, I want one to where the back tires are balloon tires too. And I took the same concept from the front axle and put it on the back with just a 16-inch balloon tire this time instead of the 9. So this past week I shipped two of the first models like that, where it's just balloon tires all over it, strictly for the sand. And I have a feeling that's going to keep going, because that'll be one that, I mean, you can leave those at piers, and mine
And
are $1,000 versus a lot more.
and Ben,
Yeah.
that's your X2. Is that correct? The X2 model that I seen on your Facebook.
You know what? I think you just coined the name for it. I was meaning Spartan Chariots times two, but Greg Trainer has just come up with the name for that wheelchair. We're going to call it the X2. I love it.
Oh man, that's awesome, brother. I didn't mean to out the name of the chair or anything like that, but I was thinking it was the X2, and that's pretty cool.
X2 it is. I love it.
Heck, it
And
is.
and what a lot of people don't realize too, Ben, is you make these chairs for children as well as adults, and
Right.
that's not something to take lightly. I mean, you have young children that want an affordable wheelchair that maybe don't have insurance, and you're able to provide one at a very reasonable cost to get kids and the youth out as well.
Yes, yes. That's one of the biggest joys of this whole adventure, is learning that kids. I remember the very first few that I got that were for children, and I had not geared this whole adventure towards that. It was for adults, but I realized early, wow, that is another thing that this is really helping, is there's nothing also out there for kids. And what a blessing it's been to have something for kids too. I mean, I can make it for, I mean, it's basically, I built it off the seat cushion size, the backrest height, and distance from seat cushion to foot plate. And it works perfect for kids, and being able to deliver some of them to the kids in person and just see them light up. And I remember one of the first kids' chairs I took to Bainbridge, one town west of me, and the kid, the first thing he wanted to do was go roll through the mud puddle with it. You know, they can be kids with this wheelchair. They don't have to worry about tearing up something that's thousands of dollars. And It's such a awesome thing to be able to help the kids out too, really
Yeah.
is.
That was one of the things when I talked to you the first time, Ben. You were like, I don't tube these things, and they're not beautiful, but I'm going to use mine to torque the crap out of, and we're going to beat this thing up on a marathon. The chairs you built are for the riggers, man. They're made for outdoor use and go, but they're not show ponies. They are let's go, let's give back, let's get back to living, and I like the concept behind that.
Yes, they're tough as nails, man. They don't have all the hardware that tends to break and strip out on normal wheelchairs. It's just all one piece. Um, I mean, I beat the crap out of mine, and it's everything that it's meant to be. They don't break, and it's just such a great thing for any of us that like to get outdoors. You don't have to worry about it falling apart on you, and you can give it heck. And if you need a new tire, you can get one for $8 up the road. Need a new tube, $4. It's not
Right.
Ben,
you guys both know. Yeah,
Ben, when you're talking about prices like that, I mean, it's just amazing because a plastic part on my power chair will cost, $500. What's the cost of your chairs? Like the average cost that you charge for your wheelchair and get them out the door, just so people know, what we're talking about and how dramatic of a difference this is.
I charge $750. I build it from the ground up, custom to your size, and it's guaranteed for life. I get it to you in usually 2 weeks. Um, no weight limit, no big, nothing too big, nothing too small. Any color you want, any backrest upholstery color I have. I'm always a call away, and I know anybody in a wheelchair using a wheelchair like us knows just from those things I've said as far as get it in 2 weeks. The person who builds it is a call away. Any color you want, this those aren't options for us if you are buying a normal wheelchair like they should be. Um, so I used to only charge 500, but after COVID, things went up. Um, so I went to 750 and never came back down, and it's still fair. It's $1,000 for something you're guaranteed for life, and it's still a lot less than everybody else.
Right. That's the thing, man. I got to say thank you again, too, for all you do. Being from South Carolina, man, you've been really hooking us up. I like the concept, too. You're only a state away. We could reach out, get you up here and do more builds. Like you said, it's a chair for life. If we have something broke, I know the guy that made it. I can just call him to come back and help me. But bigger than that, man, it's continuing to give back to a demographic that all three of us are in. How can you go better than a guy in a chair building chairs for guys and girls in chairs? I mean, the need. You're an end user.
Yes, yes, yes. I, when I tell people the story or talk about how it all happened, I always think, I was just the right guy. When people say, "Were you good at, building stuff before you got hurt?" When I look back at how it all happened, um, I remember one time a lady telling me that my life kind of was a perfect storm to set me up for what ended up happening. And, it's one of those things that I think God had in plan the whole time. I was just the right person to sit there and say, I'm not happy with the way that this is. So let me just put a little bit of that rednecking that I've done with lawnmowers or stuff like that, into the wheelchair. And, I had such a passion for the outdoors and the healing power of it, um, that I wasn't going to let that manual wheelchair kind of get in the way of how I wanted to live my life. I was stubborn enough to take my own wheelchair apart, even though I had nothing else to use. You know, there was literally a time I had to drag myself from the front porch through the house on my butt to go pee because my wheelchair axle was taken apart. Um, you know, but I was just the right guy at the right time that had enough. You know, I want to help people, and that was something
Yeah.
that this opened up. You know,
Yeah. You know, man, you've hit the nail on the head. I talk openly about my faith. I have no doubt that I'm in the position I'm in because I was the right man at the right time. God was grooming me long ago. And I tell people, you know, God didn't cause my injury, He allowed my injury to happen. And we have to change our attitude to get our aptitude to be where it's at. um, I thank you for being able and being willing to share your faith. And you know, I know Greg is one as well. But where do you see this thing going? Where do you see yourself heading, Ben? I know you got students. You know, you're still elementary science teacher, and we caught you right in the middle of your planning period, so we're trying not to use up all your time. But where do you see yourself heading?
you know, I'd be lying if I had an answer for where I'm going. But I've taken it day by day, and you know, letting the good Lord work it all out. I hope that somebody will take this and run with it and be able to produce these things at a much higher capacity, at a much lower cost than it's already at, like mountain bikes, and and there eventually be a off-road wheelchair that's the price of a mountain bike, disc brakes, shocks, aesthetic appeal, you know, $5 if you want to add a cup holder, not hundreds. A click away. You can buy it at Bass Pro, Walmart, Cabela's, all over our great nation. So basically, hopefully, that will eventually be what becomes of what has started. Is somebody will start producing these things because they see the need, they see what it does for people, and it just brings the community, all of us, able bodied and disabled, you know, even more in line with the common goal of helping, you know, helping your common man out. And you know, it's just not rocket science to make it happen. It's just a matter of time. I think that somebody will do it.
Well, Ben, what can people do to help you and Spartan Wheel Chariots? I mean, do you take donations, or how can people help not only spread the word, but if somebody was interested in purchasing a chair for a young person or an adult, how can they help you?
Um, I have a donation button that's on the website. Anybody's welcome to go there and put in anything that they want to, and I'll use that towards the next person's chair, hardware. If they want it specifically, if they want to buy one for somebody, they can just say this is towards the next person's chair. That's what generally I do is when people donate, it goes straight towards a person's chair. Um, just help spreading the word that there's an option out there for somebody that if they don't want to beat up their regular chair, they want something just for hunting and fishing, just for getting somebody down to the lake,
Mm.
wherever, out in the back of the cornfield. You know, there's an option out there that's affordable, it's quality, it's made here, you can get it in a couple weeks, and you know, it's built by somebody that is here to help. It's not like a moneymaker. I'll be here in this classroom probably for 20 years, doing the sixth grade science. I love it. If that's where they want me, um,
Yeah.
you know, it just, yeah.
Ben, how can people get in touch with you, man? If you don't mind plugging your email or your web page, we're gonna put links in for everything. But just tell the people how the easiest way to get in touch with you.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got a website, SpartanWheelChariots.com. There's a contact us button. My cell phone number's on there. You can call me anytime. Call you back if I miss you. I usually respond to people's messages in 24 hours. I'm always on top of social media stuff, and keeps me active, checking emails, stuff like that. So if anybody
Well,
has any questions or wants to know more.
Ben,
well,
I,
brother,
I sure I sure appreciate you coming on the podcast today and speaking with us. Like I said, I've admired your work for such a long time, and man, I'm glad to call us friends. I really am.
Same here, buddy. Truly am.
well, Ben, I appreciate you, brother, and I enjoyed the visit down there. We had a good time just trying to figure out everything that you have in that little town, man. That's it. It's pretty impressive the amount of food and just outdoor activities to get into. And I hope we're gonna be down again soon, real soon to check you out. But we'd love to have you up here in Greenville anytime you'd come.
Thank you, man. I look forward to getting up there one day.